Hello, welcome to the tutorial for using the Comicspedia website. On the left is the main menu here, and if you know what superhero you want to bring into therapy, you can click on By Superhero where you will find an alphabetized listing of every superhero currently in the database. Now as we move beyond superheroes, the section's name and appearance may change slightly, but it's still going to be at the top here, and will still provide an exhaustive list of at least the central characters of the comic books that are summarized within this database. So let's say you want to bring Spider-Man into your therapy sessions. We click on Spider-Man, and right now we only have the title The Amazing Spider-Man with a decent selection of issues here. You can just click randomly at any particular one you feel like, so click on 625. And here you'll find the typical layout of a summary. The summary will tell you the title, the issue number, and the month and year of publication, as well as a 1 to 300 word summary of the issue that you've selected, as well as some tags over here. Now, this issue is about Rhino, a Spider-Man villain who was pulled from retirement by the new Rhino, someone younger essentially challenging him. In order to get old Rhino out of retirement, new Rhino kills old Rhino's wife. So it becomes then a battle between old Rhino and new Rhino. It was tagged with losing a loved one because of old Rhino losing his wife, as well as a battle for the title of who would be the Rhino, hence the honor tag. So let's say after you've read this you think, I want to include some more issues from maybe different heroes or different titles of that involve losing a loved one. If you click the tag, you'll find every other issue that has that tag within the database. So here we have some Batman and Robin, we have some Green Lantern, some Captain America, Irredeemable. All of these have been tagged with losing a loved one, so you can scroll around and find some other issues that you think may be useful in bringing into therapy that have that central theme. Now, if you want to find out a little bit more information, you can open the tag of losing a loved one. Here's the exact same list that we were just looking at in a different format, as well as some example questions that you can ask in therapy to help generate some processing. So now we have a bunch of windows open, and maybe you want to get away from this, but your screen is a bit cluttered. So what you can do is up here we have close, close others, view, and more. We'll right now just pay attention to close and close others. So you want to get rid of this one. Let's close that down. Let's close the welcome page, scroll up, and maybe you just want to go back to this and you want to close the others. So what you do is you come up here, close others, and that's now the only window that's open. So let's close this one and head over to themes. Now here's a list of every theme that is currently tagged in the database. There's 16 themes, and a nice block of text up at the top too. Let's say you want to use some issues that deal with facing fear. Open that up. Once again, we see the list on the left here, some Uncanny X-Men, some Punisher and Marvel Universe, a bunch of different heroes that with issues dealing with facing fear. Now, as well as of course the example questions that you can use in therapy. Now let's say, earlier we looked at losing a loved one, but maybe you wanted something more specific in terms of losing a loved one, and you want to do a search. So we go up here to search, and let's say you wanted to look up something more like suicide. Instead of just losing a loved one, it's someone who's actually taken their own life. So we enter suicide, and up come the issues that have suicide within the summaries. We can see that there were 6 tiddlers. A tiddler is one of these windows that could be a summary, it could be that By Superhero window, it's anything that is its own window. So 6 have been found matching suicide. So you can pull that up and kind of get an idea of what are some issues that deal with that topic. Over here we have close all, which will get rid of all of those tiddlers. And let's see, on the menu here we also have ideas for therapy. If you're a little unsure of exactly how you want to work with comics in therapy, aside from those example questions, we can open that up. And here are a handful of ideas, including some additional examples of how to work with comics within the session. And you can go ahead and browse that a little bit later. Also, we have a logistics section, which is new as of November 2010. The first logistics item that was provided are record cards. Let's say that you're using a particular issue, or a collection of issues rather, and you're using that because they work with losing a loved one again. But you're curious, there are other tags for these issues along the way, and I wanted to be able to track exactly what were the other themes that were maybe presented along the way to provide even more useful information for working in therapy. Click on record cards, and you can cut these out then, print it off and cut it out, and track after every session who the client is, when you saw them, what the issue was you read that week, and then just check off what the themes were, and then write down what next week's title is. This is great for when you begin to start seeing several clients and incorporating comic books into therapy, because then it gets a little bit easier for tracking week to week exactly what issues you want to bring in next time, as well as if you have 5 sessions or so, even if it was focusing on losing a loved one, if you've been checking along the way, you can say, oh, it looks like that roles was another major theme that's been presented in therapy, as well as maybe deception. So now you can look back in your cards and think, okay, so what are some ways I can address these themes as well? And then there's also a sign-out sheet that if you work in a group practice and you want the comics available to everybody, it's a great way to have people write down their initials, the comics that they're checking out, and then they can cross it off later when they've returned them to the collection. If you have any other questions or help using Comicspedia, we have an FAQ section, and there's an email address down here that you can shoot us an email, and we'll get back to you ASAP with to answer any questions you may have. But the most common question really is, where can I buy comic books and how much do they cost? So we'll go ahead and open that tiddler, and nice big block of text, of course. But what to focus on are these handful of websites of exactly where you can buy comic books, where you can enter the titles. If we go back up and we open, Hawkman issues, and again we say, okay, I want Hawkman number 4 from December of 1993. You can enter, go to some of these websites and enter that information into their own search boxes and begin to look for exactly that issue. You can also subscribe to comic books through local comic book stores if you happen to have any nearby. If you want to find a comic book store, you simply go to this website, comicshoplocator.com, and you'll be able to find comic book shops you can walk into and explain to them what you're looking for from this database, and they'll be able to help you out. Well, that's that for the tutorial of Comicspedia. If, again, you have any other questions, of course, shoot us an email, and we'll get back to you, as soon as we can, and hope you find it as useful as we do. Thank you.